Previous video, I was talking about the number one lesson I learned from Love Island season 7 and Nicolandria was that, like, slow and steady does win the race. Obviously, you can go back and watch that video. But I was going to talk about two other lessons. And the second was going to be about how you should always stay true to yourself and your boundaries, and the right people will kind of adhere to those boundaries. But I want to talk about number 3 first, because the boundaries thing was going to be number 2. But number 3 is being careful about outside validation. I was watching Jessie Woo's live last night, and she went live with Blue Telusma, shout out Blue, and she was talking about how she's a little bit concerned that about how Nicolandria kind of started happening more, started being more legit, like how they decided to really give it a go and explore an emotional connection between the two of them. And she was like, it seems like, their friends and the people around them and their family, it's important to them to have that approval to move forward. And that's not to say that they're dependent on outside validation by any means. If you've seen any of the interviews they've been doing, Nick recently said he doesn't give a shit anymore. Like, I don't care if y'all think it's real. We know what we have, and that's what we're going to focus on. And I can tell they're both strong in character. And, with the way Olandria has been moving with regard to how she was kind of mammified in the villa, but then she finally stepped up for herself and chose herself and decided, I came here for love, so I'm going to explore and give it a try. But what Blue said it made me think about how, like, that external validation will fucking kill you every time. Like, it's one thing to, want your friends and family to support, but it's another thing for it to be a deciding factor in how you move. Now, there's something to be said about loyalty and considering people's feelings, and I'm a big believer that, when you're in relationship with anybody, platonic, family, or romantic, you're actually responsible for their emotions in the sense that you won't purposely hurt them if you say you are in a relationship and community with this person. So you're responsible for how your actions make them feel and, how boundaries are set on either side. But when I think about that external validation, I think about how in my 20s, like, I would be resolved to do something, but then I'd be like, well, what would my best friend think? And what would my parents think? And those are okay things to think about. But if it goes against your intuition and what you actually know is right for yourself, then that external validation is the opposite of living true to yourself. It's the opposite of taking your time. And this kind of connects back to that number 1 lesson that I mentioned about slow and steady wins the race, taking your time to really explore what feels right for you. And it might be an unpopular opinion, but I really believe in taking the time in solitude to explore what's right for you, to think about what makes sense for you without discussing every plan and thought you have with loved ones, at least not right away. A close friend of mine doesn't love this method that I do where, if I have a business idea, or like she and I had a business idea and we were talking about it and we were really excited, and her friend actually kind of lit a fire under her for the business, and we were kind of developing it together, and we spent like 2 hours just talking about how we would want it to look, and I took notes, and we met a couple more times after that. But I remember saying to her, hey, can we actually not talk to anyone else about this? Can we keep this within ourselves until we flesh it out and feel good about it? Like, we know in our hearts of hearts that this is our passion. This is what we want to do. So why don't we take a moment to really think about, where we want to go with this, so that when outside opinions start coming in, those questions start coming in, it's not coming, we're not relying on those opinions alone to proceed or succeed. We're taking those opinions and comparing it against what we already know to be true within ourselves, and comparing it against the goals we have for our business, our life, and our joy. So she didn't love that, but she respected it, and I appreciated her for that. But I think taking that same philosophy is important in your life. In the past, when I've applied for jobs or tried to change careers, I would, sit down and flesh it out over and over again and talk to different people about it and get their opinions. And, that was kind of part of my research and data collection and information gathering stage. But I think there's something to be said for that data collection and information gathering stage to be done more privately. And to let, and this sounds frou-frou, but to let your intuition and the universe speak to you and confirm and solidify what you want to happen, right? What makes sense for you. I just feel like if you don't take that time to build that solid foundation of, this is actually why I think this makes sense for me. This feels good to me because I want to see this through until, and then having that solid foundation when you compare it against people's opinions and doubts and questions. And even if the questions don't come from a place of doubt, they're just legitimate questions, they won't settle as doubt in your mind. It'll just be, hey, I hear what you're saying. I appreciate your opinion. I hear what you're saying, but I'm gonna do me. So I don't know. I think it's interesting to kind of use that Nicolandria example to think about different aspects of our lives. Taking our time, having a solid foundation within ourselves, so that that external validation just doesn't rock us. And I think I see that in their relationship also. Even, I was going to say Chase, but, Shelly and Ace. They love having their family support, obviously, especially, both Ace and Shelly love that family support, but they already built something among themselves. Oh, excuse me. They had already built something among themselves. So that, family validation was just icing on the cake. It was perfection. And, now that Nicolandria and Chase are in the outside world and people are questioning this and saying, calling them bullies or saying they're forced or whatever other bullshit, they can just be like, all right, I'm stepping away for a second. I'm going to focus on my person. I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to do what I need to do to heal and rest myself. But I'm solid in the foundation that I've built. So all this external opinions, and even from people that I care about, it's falling flat. It's falling flatter because, oh well, like, I don't actually care, because I already built that for myself. I'm chilling.